Aerodynamics is the science of how things fly. Things that fly could include natural things like a bird flapping its wings and flying around, or a bat flapping its wings and flying around, or a flying squirrel, gliding about, catching on the air. But it also includes things that people make, things like helicopters and airplanes and gliders that people can glide around in, hot air balloons, all kinds of things that fly. Now, there's a lot to aerodynamics, but the basic idea that you want to know is that for things to fly, 4 forces have to be in balance. Now, even though I'm going to show you with my fingers these sort of directionals, it doesn't necessarily mean that. I just want to give you an idea so you can visualize it a little bit, okay? The other thing I want you to keep in mind is that when you see one directional, let's say going up, it's going to have one that's opposite of it, going down. If you see one going right or left, it's going to have an opposite. And those actually counteract each other, and that's why they have to be in balance in order to fly. So let's go ahead and look at that really quickly. The first one I'm going to talk about is what we call lift. And I'm going to point upwards for lift, okay? Lift is the ability for something to come up off the ground. And it's caused by the fact that there is more air pressure underneath something than above it. That's called Bernoulli's principle. So if you're at the Children's Museum, you can see Bernoulli's principle in action with these blowing machines that you can put bouncy balls over. You're going to see it in action all the time though when you make different flying things like your straw gliders, your helicopters, your Magnus gliders. Now the opposite of lift, going down, that right there is gravity. And right now gravity is affecting all of us. We are all being pulled towards the center of the Earth. And in fact, everything on the planet Earth is being pulled towards the center of the Earth. So you might have heard the old saying, what goes up must come down. Well, that's what's saying when you lift something up, eventually it will come down. And on the Earth, there is nothing that will allow anything to keep flying forever. Eventually, everything has to come back towards the ground and is being pulled downwards by gravity. Now the next one I'm going to talk about is called thrust. And thrust, even though I'm pointing this way, it can go the other direction. It can go this way, it can go that way, it can go all these different directions. But that basically means to be able to move forward, or and in some cases move backwards, or move kind of to the side. But the idea is you're moving around other than just going up. You'll see that a lot with airplanes and jet planes. They can maneuver themselves around quite a bit. Now the counteraction of that, if say we're going thrust this way, would be drag going this way. And what that is something that's slowing it down. So when we get into the air, what we want to make sure is when we come back down, that we're coming down in a very slow and mannered way. That way we don't crash into something. So if we're on a glider, eventually gravity is going to pull us back down, but drag will slow us down so that we come to the Earth in a very, very easy way. Think of a parachute. Cars, racing cars sometimes have parachutes that slow them down. When people, what we call skydiving, jump out of an airplane, they'll use a parachute to slow them down. And that's the whole idea. So when you have all of these forces in balance, lift, gravity or weight, thrust, and drag, something will fly. Now when it comes to your straw glider, the little straw glider that you made that looks like this, you're basically giving it thrust. You're taking your smaller straw and you're inserting it into the back of the glider you made. And then what you basically do is you tilt it up and blow. And it flies.